So I decided to add one more workout in the mix here. And this is for those of you who have a kettlebell or a couple of kettlebells at your disposal. I'm gonna show you a couple of options. So I'm gonna show you an option if you have like one heavy kettlebell that you do like two-handed swings with, and then if you have one light kettlebell, and then you can kind of, if you have both, you can kind of mix and match. But I'm gonna give you a variety, or again, options as to what to do if you have one or the other. So if you have a heavy kettlebell, we're gonna do swings, we're gonna do goblet squats, we're gonna do push-ups, and then we're gonna do a hollow hold. And we're just gonna do that as a circuit. If you only have access to a lighter kettlebell that you can do single arm swings with, we're gonna do single arm swings. We'll do a goblet rear lunge. We'll do a push up, or you could do a single arm overhead, single arm press. And then again, we'll do the hollow hold. So I'm going to show you both variations. I'm going to do it all at one time, essentially. And obviously, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Let's proceed. So with kettlebell stuff, I kind of like to keep it pretty. The repetitions of what we call grind movements, or your kind of more traditional, like your presses, your squats. I like to keep them at sets of 5. And your ballistic stuff, depending upon what it is, like your swings, we're gonna keep with sets of 10. Well, let's dive you guys on this. So we'll start off first, right, with your kettlebell swing. So 10 swings, right? You're inhaling back. For those of you who do the pattern on a regular basis, right, and I've got you already doing this, you can start your inhale here. For those of you who this is still fairly new, that may be a little too complicated. Think inhale, hike the bell back, exhale as you drive forward and up. So again, if you're limited to the heavy kettlebell, we're gonna go 10 swings. Let your breathing normalize, and kind of, in the kettlebell world, they call it fast and loose. You're just kind of shaking it out a little bit as your heart rate comes down a little bit. And then we'll do goblet squats. If the kettlebell is heavy enough for you to be doing swings with, and that's challenging, then let's limit you to 5 up to 8, no more than 8, 5 to 8 goblet squats. And again, we're focusing on the breath, and I'd much rather have you do more cycles or rotations through, more sets of the circuit than repetitions. So again, we'll go into our goblet squat, right? Heels, shoulder width apart, feet slightly turned out, belt stays close to the body. We're gonna stack the ribs and hips, start the inhale, feel the expansion, lower into position, exhale, drive out. Stack the ribs and hips, start the inhale, feel the expansion, lower into position, exhale, drive out. Knees forward and out so the hips can drop down, right? Knees forward and out so the hips can drop down. So 5 up to 8 squats. Again, less is more. Then, if we are doing, if it's a heavy bell, I guess I'm kind of going off what I said initially. I'll come back and we'll do the single arm circuit if it's a lighter bell. Then we're gonna do your push-up. And here's the same thing. The same thing applies with your, I want you to apply the same kind of idea to your push-up as you do to your squat. I'd much rather have you do less repetitions. So with our push-up, right, we're going to make your plank, fire up your glutes, fire up your core, push the floor away. Start your inhale, feel the expansion, lower into position. Start your inhale, feel the expansion, lower into position. Now, again, my recommendation is to limit it 5 up to 8. Now, if you can maintain that same breathing pattern, right? Stack the ribs and hips, squeeze the glutes, engage the core, start the breath, feel the expansion. Lower on down, little pause. Then I would say take it maybe up to 10. If you can do more than that, then we want to up the ante a little bit. Now, but keep that same level of control. If you can't keep that control and that rhythm, then it's too much, right? It's too much. Think about that maintaining alignment of the body, that nice good inhalation, and control on the way down. That's your criteria. It's not about how many you can do, it's about how well you can do them. Now, if for some of you that may be a little too challenging, the other thing also, if you have any shoulder stuff, right, you may want to, and you know, if that's the case, you know, then I probably have you doing this already, right? Limit that range of motion, right? Try to put something underneath that's going to stop you at roughly 90 degrees of at your elbow, right? So, you know, often we'll use the pads, right? Same idea, glutes, abs, start the inhale, feel the expansion. Lower on down. We may, you know this if I may have you already lifting the hands. There's some reasoning behind that. If you're already doing that, then do the same thing here. Or you can come down and just tap. It's just going to limit your range of motion. You can also do this from your knees, right? For those of you who are already doing this, engage, glutes, abs, start the inhale, feel the expansion. Lower on down. Exhale, drive out. If that's just a little too much, we can always have you use a bench, a countertop, same idea, right? Glutes, abs, start the inhale, feel the expansion, lower into position. Right? Same idea. Now, again, I would strongly emphasize this, keep the repetitions low. I'd much rather have you do these beautiful quality repetitions where you're focusing on maintaining the alignment, the breath, and control over the body, and do more cycles through the circuit than have you do just bang out a bunch of repetitions, looking all sloppy, and you're jacking up your shoulder. It's just not worth it. So the last thing we're going to do in this little series is we're going to do a hard style sit-up. And again, most of you who are doing this have done this before. This is at where we're going to kind of start from the top down. So from here, pull the toes back towards the shins. I'm going to grab my knees. I'm going to think about doing a crunch, right, from the top down. What I like to think about is like I'm trying to smash my rib cage or crush my ribs into my hips, right? Once I feel that core engage, I'm going to lower on down. I'm going to make fists, squeeze my fists. I'm going to lower on down as far as I can without losing the structure. I don't want my heels to come up, and I don't want to start to feel this screaming in my hip flexor. So again, I'm going to crunch. I'm going to lower on down, keeping the emphasis here as far as I can while still maintaining this focus here. And then I'm going to make 10 or 20 sharp exhalations. With each exhalation, you almost want to imagine like you're getting a little tighter, a little tighter, a little tighter, a little tighter, like a little ratchet, getting tighter, tighter. 20 exhalations, and I'm going to inhale up. And then I'll do the same thing. Take a nice big inhale, set the ribs and hips, lower on down, challenging that position. Inhale back up, and then I'll do it again. 20 sharp exhalations, which basically equates to 10 seconds. So you're doing 3 sets, essentially, of a 10-second isometric squeeze or hold. And that's your circuit, right? So we got, again, 10 swings, 5 up to 8 goblet squats, less is more. 5 up to 8 push-ups, less is more. And again, if you're at the point where you're just doing more, then you probably know who you are, and then we're probably doing single arm stuff. And there's ways that we can do that. And if I don't want to necessarily go into that in this video, but if reach out to me if you're not sure how to modify it on your own. Then you're doing that hollow or a hard style sit up, right? Just like I did. And then just cruise back through. Again, like I've discussed in a couple of the other videos, you can even vary it up. If you're just going to do this, you can do maybe one day on day one, you're doing 3 rounds. Maybe on day day 2, you're doing like 5 rounds. And then maybe the next day on day 3, you're doing like 2 rounds. But you can vary this up a little bit. And with this goes so quick, you can do more than that. I mean, I would say, again, depending upon who you are, I would say minimum 3, but more like 5. And you can really just kind of cruise through or set yourself a little bit of a timer. Maybe you stick with 20 to 30 minutes and see how many rounds you can comfortably achieve in 20 to 30 minutes. It's another way to play with this because of this little circuit moves so quickly. My only recommendation is let your breathing normalize in between exercises and in between the next cycle through. So don't just try to rush it, right? Don't just try to beat yourself up. Right, let your breathing normalize and just see what you can achieve. Try, put the timer on, but try not to pay attention to it. Try not to necessarily beat the timer, so to say. Just kind of see where you are naturally while letting the breathing normalize and letting your body recover. Now, so what if you don't have a heavy enough kettlebell to do? What if the kettlebell is just too light to do 2-handed swings and goblet squats with? Well, so then we can do another alternative. And this lighter bell alternative would be we do 10 single arm swings on each side. And again, most of you who are already doing this know and have done these, right? Inhale. So again, 10 swings, shake it out a little bit, relax, and you'll do 10 more on that other side. In lieu of the squat, what you can do is we can do a goblet style rear lunge, right? And same thing, I would keep the repetitions pretty low and think about doing more circuits than repetitions, right? So we're gonna bring it up, same goblet position, stack the ribs and hips, lower down, so again, same idea, going 5. It feels ridiculously easy going up to 8, but I would really do no more than 8 because you want to do these control. You don't want to, this is not where you're doing something like this. Set the ribs and hips. Start the inhale, feel the expansion. Step, right? Lower, drive out. Make the focus how controlled you can be. So, right, you got single arm swings, you got your reverse lunge, right? Goblet position. And then your choice, you can, for those of you who do it, that weight may allow you to do a get up. I'm not going to go into that here, but you can do a get up. The other option is you can do, right, your kettlebell press. If you can single arm swing this, you probably can kettlebell press this. Squeeze the glutes, drive through the floor, lift through the sternum. Nice big inhale. For those of you who, if you're doing 5 up to 8, you might only be able to do like 3 to 5, do that kind of breathing, right? If you're doing like sets of 8, start that inhale before you lower. And those of you who do this know exactly what I'm talking about. If we're doing higher repetition, we're going to start that inhale before we lower. And then we'll do the same, right? Hard style sit up, right? 3 sets, 10 seconds, which is 20 sharp exhalations, where you're making that, you're bracing your core, right? All right. Again, focus more on how many rounds you do versus how many reps you do. I would stick with that theme. I stick with 10 and 5. So it's a 10 and 5. right? 10 for the swings, 5 for the squats, lunges, push-ups even. I find the variation that's appropriate for me. And then, or 5 presses for the most part. However, again, if the bell's just not that challenging, you can always up the ante. Just make control the focus, not the amount of repetitions and or the speed and so forth. All right, you guys. So listen. I hope this is helpful. Please don't hesitate to reach out if I can be of service. Aloha, and I'll see you soon.